episode 66 of Piv's NXT Point of View podcast. My name is Bill Pivets. So this week was the go-home show to TakeOver The End, not Revenge like I said last week. It's NXT TakeOver The End. Makes sense. It's the end, most likely, of the Finn Balor-Samoa Joe rivalry. We were advertised that Austin Aries and Elias Samson were in action tonight, and that Corey Graves would have a sit-down interview with Samoa Joe and Finn Balor. Start off the show, the Revival walked out to the ring. Dash Wilder said that they'll be the first ever two-time NXT Tag Champs. Dawson said the American Alpha are great amateur athletes, and kind of demeaned them on that a little bit. He said that they talk heavy and hit hard, and that's what they're going to do at TakeOver. At this point, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa walked down to the ring. Ciampa said that their time at the top has come and gone, and everyone knows that American Alpha is better. He said that they can't beat American Alpha or themselves. They went back and forth for a little bit after that. Revival left. Gargano said that for some top guys, they are running away pretty fast. Revival walked back in the ring, and they received stereo drop kicks before making their way up the ramp. The crowd, for some reason, wasn't fully behind this. They didn't really pop for the attack on the Revival, as I thought they would. But I like the segment overall. Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano have been on a winning streak as of late, and it makes sense for them to target the next top team in NXT. They're moving their way up with Enzo and Casco, and they definitely need another babyface tag team, and these two guys can do it. It does spoil the tag match a little bit because it kind of hints at this being the next feud coming out of TakeOver, and that the Revival will not be getting the tag titles back. Unless they do, and then they go into a feud with Tommaso and Gargano, but I don't think that's the case. They're going to want to promote and get behind American Alpha, and then this is probably the feud leading after TakeOver. Nakamura was interviewed about his match against Austin Aries at TakeOver. He was thinking about how the match will go, and he said that Aries will bow down to the King of Strong Style. First match, Ty Dillinger against Buddy Murphy. Corey Graves said that he lost his girlfriend and his partner, but he got his first name back. I like that line a lot. Dillinger worked over Murphy a little bit with some arm drags and a nice arm lock. Murphy landed a huge running punch in the corner, and then he had his turn on offense. During the match, Tom Phillips announced that Regal made the main event of Revival and Gargano and Ciampa. So did he not have a main event before that segment took place? Because if he didn't, luckily that Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano interrupted the Revival. Anyway, Dillinger broke out of a sleeper hold. He got a near fall with a roll-up. He landed 10 punches in the corner, but instead of counting 1, 2, 3, the fans were counting 10 each time. And he connected this with the super kick before the 10th punch. He then hit his flipping neck breaker and got the win. It was a fun match. I'm not really sure where either man goes, though, after this match. Ty Dillinger has been a jobber for a little while now, and him getting some surprise wins here and there is nice, but I don't see them building around him anytime soon. And with the breakup and everything, you would think someone out of Blake and Murphy would get some sort of push, unless they're doing it for Blake, but Murphy should have got the win now that he's recently single, in more ways than one. It was just a weird result of the match. The match itself was fine, but I think the results should have been flipped. Graves sat down with Balor and Joe, quote-unquote, earlier today. Graves asked Balor about his thoughts when he lost the title in Massachusetts. He said it's difficult to answer. He never saw it coming, and it wasn't his typical fairy tale ending for when he would lose the title. Graves then asked if he regretted taking the title match, and Balor definitively said no, without hesitation. He doesn't regret it at all. Graves then went to Joe, asked him how he felt accomplishing his goal. He said he reached his goal and his dream came true, that he did what he set out to do. Balor interrupted and said that Joe came in with some sort of entitlement that he deserves, a title shot and the NXT title. Joe then brought up their history with the Dusty Classic and how Balor came to him for help. They went back through their past accomplishments, spending time in Japan and all over the world. Graves mentioned that Balor was never in a cage match, but Balor rebutted, saying he was never in a ladder match either, and his first one was at TakeOver in Brooklyn, and the results of that. The ending got a little awkward. They just kind of stared into each other. It looked like they were a couple going through a couple going through therapy, and either man could reconcile their differences. It was just an awkward pause. They were just both sitting there, arms crossed, like a little upset. But overall, it was a really good segment. I like these interview segments, and Corey Graves does a really good job with them. Their answers pretty much proved what they're willing to do for the NXT title and how much it means to them. The match itself should be fun in a cage match. I'm interested to see how it plans out because, like they said, NXT's never had a cage match before. So with NXT and their booking and these two, it should be a really good match. Second match on the show was Elias Samson against Austin Aries. They went back and forth for a little bit. Samson pulled Aries into the rope, like short arm clothesline, but he got guillotined by the rope. He then pummeled him in the corner and landed a vicious clothesline. Aries came back out of the corner with a modified T-bone suplex and a clothesline of his own. He landed a diving elbow to the back of the neck and a dive through the ropes to the outside. Brought it back into the ring, connected with a rolling elbow and running dropkick. He then hit a neck breaker and locked in what they called last chancery to get the win. After the match, Aries said he's shown it and proven it time and time again in the ring, and at TakeOver he removes any doubts that he is the greatest in the ring, and the spotlight will shine where it belongs, on Austin Aries. The match is pretty much what I expected. Samson's good in the ring, but his character, it just weighs himself down. No one wants to see him. He's getting go-away heat, not heel heat like some of the other heels. The fans just really don't care about this guy at all. And obviously it made sense for Aries to win heading into this match. As for the promo, some fans were actually booing Austin Aries. Not sure if they're turning him full on heel or he's just being Austin Aries, calling himself the greatest man in the world or the greatest man that ever lived, whatever he calls himself. But he's always been the confident type, not letting anyone tell him no as an answer. It's so long as I remember seeing him back in TNA. It would make sense for him to turn heel. I don't think there's another top heel on the NXT roster after Samoa Joe. So it would make sense for them to go that route. But if the plan's to bring Bobby Roode in, they might go babyface. I'm not too sure. But as for himself, he's just doing what he does. And he's going to go out there and steal the show. We got another vignette for Andrade Almas. They then had a graphic for a TakeOver. And William Regal actually announced this morning on Twitter that Ty Dillinger will be facing Almas at TakeOver. So that should be actually a fun match. I think Dillinger... Was it Dillinger that faced Nakamura? No, obviously that was Sami Zayn. Dillinger faced someone else that came in for the first time, so he's a good hand to have in the ring against some of these first-time guys. Main event was Gargano and Ciampa against the Revival. Before the match began, I was thinking either Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa are going to continue their win streak, or the Revival is going to look strong heading into their title match and the win streak. Gargano and Ciampa landed some quick kicks on Dawson. Ciampa landed a big clothesline, but he was sent to the outside. Wilder clotheslined him as he was getting back into the ring, keeping him on the outside, which led to the first commercial break. Wilder was in control when they came back, and he focused on the knee of Ciampa. Dawson caught Ciampa in midair as he was reaching for Gargano, which was a nice spot there. He was on the outside, and then as soon as he went for the tag, he kind of picked him up and then slammed it back down. Gargano eventually did get the hot tag. He caught Dawson with a nice heel kick. He then landed his shoulder tackle through the ropes. He took out Wilder with an enziguri, but was caught by Dawson with a spike DDT. Dawson landed a superplex, but Gargano held on right after the superplex when they landed, rolled him up, and got the win. After the match, Dawson and Dash went after Ciampa. They hit the Shatter Machine and then went to take out his knee, similar to what they did to Big Cass a few months ago. But American Alpha ran down and made the save. They landed stereo German suplexes and sent the Revival packing. And honestly, that's the best result for this match, to be honest. It kind of protects both teams. The Revival was looking strong. They were wearing down Gargano in the meantime, but then Gargano and Ciampa continue their win streak with the quick roll-up pin. So neither team really loses anything here. And then it definitely helps the Revival with the post-match attack, just showing how frustrated they were. It was weird to finally see the American Alpha. They haven't been on NXT. They haven't had a match in the last 3 weeks or so. So just to finally get them on TV, which was nice. And like I said before, this rematch is going to be a good one. Both teams have different styles, and they contrast, but it works really well. I hope American Alpha wins, but I'll go through my predictions a little later. We were advertised a little early on the show that the main event would be Asuka and Nia Jax in a contract signing. To start off, Regal was praising Asuka, but Nia ripped the mic out of his hands. She said that everyone's been running from her, meaning Asuka, but why? She said that Asuka did defeat Bayley, but Nia broke her, and she was the heart and soul of NXT. She said there's no one like her, and she's not scared of Asuka, and then she signed a contract. Asuka said that Nia Jax talks too much, and then signed. Very simple. She then yelled in some phrases in Japanese. Nia looked a little worried, and then she said in English, "If you are not scared of me, you should be." Nia shoved her. Asuka came back with some kicks. Nia ducked one of the kicks and then powerbombed her, leaving her laying. And for some reason, even though they're pretty much all the same, I like the NXT contract signings more than the WWE ones. or the main roster ones at least. These, I don't know, they feel a little more legitimate compared to the main roster ones, even though they all end in some sort of confrontation and brawl. The NXT ones, they just seem a little more professional. I like them a lot. But this one worked again. It proves that Asuka's not going to back down from anyone, even someone the size of Nia Jax. But Nia Jax proved that she isn't the same old... she isn't like anyone else on the women's roster, and then she should be... that Asuka should feel a little threatened. But yeah, next week is NXT TakeOver The End. And as for right now, these are the matches. We got Joe Balor in a cage match for the NXT title. I think Joe's going to win, and Balor's time in NXT is coming to an end. No pun intended, I guess, with the name of the special. But yeah, this is going to be their last confrontation, I think, and Finn Balor should be main roster bound soon. Then you have American Alpha and the Revival for the NXT tag titles. I think American Alpha is going to win this as well, which teased a little bit with Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, and the Revival coming out of TakeOver. Asuka versus Nia Jax for the women's title. I think it's Asuka's title. Nia Jax isn't ready for that spot yet. Definitely not yet. They've built her up to be a monster, but she needs a lot more work in the ring. Austin Aries versus Shinsuke Nakamura. This match can go either way. I think they're going to go with Nakamura, though. He's the next star. Because I don't know what happened to Hideo Itami. He's been out for over a year, I think. But I think Nakamura is going to get a nice win here. And the match that was just announced, Ty Dillinger against Andrade Almas, and I think Almas is going to get the win here. Should be a nice match, probably the opener. But other than that, that's 5 matches on a 2-hour show. I think it'll work. Maybe there's another surprise match mixed in there. But other than that, next week, TakeOver The End. I guess, so if you want, follow me on Twitter at bpiv_sports. And if you don't mind, rate, review the show on iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, wherever else you guys listen to the show. Be greatly appreciated. And as for next week, I'll be back to review TakeOver The End. Peace.